The pandemic has caused a lot of things to happen, but one of the biggest surprises is a huge shift in the workforce. A recent survey found that 41% of workers are planning to quit their jobs this year. And just last month, over 4 million people left their jobs. But why? Today we're going to dive into this phenomenon and talk about why so many people are leaving their jobs, the truth behind the Great Resignation, and why Gen Z might be the laziest generation yet. This is the host with Apple Explained. And let's start off with today's. On June 2021, the Wall Street Journal published an article titled, "Why So Many People Are Quitting Their Jobs." In it, they cited research from Microsoft that found 41% of workers are thinking about quitting within the next 12 months. If true, this would be the largest mass resignation in US history. But what's really going on here? Let's take a look at some of the reasons why. According to a study by software company Personas, the top 3 reasons for employees leaving their job is simple: salary, work-life balance, and lack of recognition. For some context, these reasons were selected by 39% of respondents and ranked significantly higher than other answers like company culture, career progression, and management style. It almost seems counterintuitive that money would be ranked number 1, considering companies have never offered more money and benefits to keep their employees around. But maybe it comes down to a change in priorities. After all, there's a new trend happening in workplaces across the world where employees are beginning to call out unpaid work. And no, I'm not talking about volunteer work or working extra hours when needed. I mean things like setting up coffee meetings, picking up the slack for co-workers, doing favors for your boss, and staying late to cover the weekend shift. Now the problem isn't doing any of those things, but only doing them if you're getting paid for it. Before, this was seen as the unspoken norm, something you just did because it wasn't explicitly stated in your contract. But now people are realizing that unpaid work is still work, and they don't have to do it. Now I know that sounds a little ridiculous. You don't get paid for picking up coffee for your coworker, but that's exactly the point. It doesn't have to be a big thing. Just don't do anything for free that you would normally be paid to do. But how does this relate to the wider trend of people quitting their jobs? Well, it's pretty simple. If employees feel like they're constantly expected to go above and beyond without being compensated, they're going to eventually burn out and quit. That's why unpaid work is often done by younger employees who are more likely to leave a company within 2 years. This brings us to another viral trend known as quiet quitting. Unlike its name suggests, this isn't about actually quitting your job, but rather quietly protesting against poor treatment by putting in the bare minimum effort. This could mean not staying late to help out, not answering emails outside of work hours, not volunteering for projects, or even taking every vacation day offered to you. The idea is to simply do your job and nothing more. And at first glance, this might seem like a bad thing. Shouldn't you always try to go above and beyond? Well, according to a recent article in the New York Times, quiet quitting is often a sign of a much bigger problem. They write, "Quiet quitting may seem like a defeat for employers, but it can also be a sign that managers have failed to attend to employees' concerns." And while all of this sounds reasonable, there's been a growing debate on whether or not it's ever okay to not go above and beyond. Harvard professor and author of The Power of Moments, Chip Heath, argues that you should always volunteer for new opportunities. He says, "I think the answer is never refuse the stretch assignment. You want to be known as the person who raises their hand first for the really hard stuff." On the other side of the argument, professor at Northwestern University and author of The 4-Day Week, Juliet Facetta, argues that employees should be allowed to set boundaries and that quiet quitting could be a positive way to reframe our relationship with work. She says, "We have to rethink the concept of the ideal employee. Someone who is totally committed 24/7, who puts the organization's interest ahead of their own well-being, is a recipe for burnout." Ultimately, it's your decision on where you fall on this debate. But either way, it's clear that there's been a fundamental shift in the way we think about work. But that's only part of the story. According to McKinsey, millions of people quit their jobs because of the pandemic. But it wouldn't be accurate to say that everyone is just looking for a better opportunity. They write, "In reality, the drivers of turnover vary widely depending on the industry, the role, the worker, the company, and the local labor market. Instead, they argue that it's more accurate to divide people into 5 main groups based on why they left their job. The first group is what they call apathy and disengagement, which accounts for 20% of all workers. These people have been with the same employer for several years, but are feeling burnt out and unfulfilled. The pandemic gave them an opportunity to find a new passion. The second group is what they call drift and discontent, which accounts for 17% of all workers. These people quit because they didn't see a future with their company and were actively searching for a better opportunity long before the pandemic. The third group is what they call dissatisfaction and disloyalty, which accounts for 16% of all workers. These people were unhappy with their job for a long time, but it wasn't until the pandemic that they started to look elsewhere. The fourth group is what they call hardship and headwinds, which accounts for 14% of all workers. These people are struggling to balance work with life circumstances like childcare, elder care, health issues, or financial stress. The fifth and final group is what they call luck and opportunity, which accounts for 29% of all workers. These people had an unexpected windfall like an inheritance, lottery winnings or investment gains that allowed them to quit their job and pursue something else. So why does this matter? Well, if we're going to find a solution to this problem, we need to understand the root cause. And the data suggests that most people aren't quitting their jobs because of salary, but because of a failure of management. But you don't have to take my word for it. Just look at the comments below this viral LinkedIn post about quitting your job. Time and time again, people are citing issues with their manager as a reason to quit. So how should companies respond? Well, it starts with recognizing that the pandemic has changed our relationship with work forever. People are no longer willing to put up with poor management or unreasonable expectations. And if companies fail to adapt, they're going to lose their best employees. So what can they do about it? Well, for starters, companies must recognize that work-life balance is no longer optional. It needs to be built into the fabric of your company culture. That means offering flexible hours, unlimited vacation days, or even a 4-day work week. On top of that, companies need to lead by example. Senior executives need to make it clear that they value work-life balance and quiet quitting. Finally, companies need to listen to their employees, conduct anonymous surveys to find out what's really going on, and address issues before they become widespread. So should you quit your job? Well, that depends on your situation. Ask yourself, are you happy with your job? Do you feel fulfilled and challenged? If the answer is yes, then stay. But if the answer is no, then it might be time to move on. Here are some additional questions to consider. Do you have a good relationship with your boss? Do you enjoy your colleagues? Do you feel like you're making progress in your career? Do you feel like you're fairly compensated? And do you have opportunities for growth within the company? If the answer to any of these questions is no, then it might be time to start looking for a new job. Looking ahead, it's clear that the future of work will look very different than the past. The days of working 80-hour weeks and sacrificing your personal life for your job are over. The new normal is a flexible, remote-friendly, and balanced work schedule that allows employees to focus on what matters most. For some people, that means spending more time with family. For others, it means starting a side hustle. And for others still, it means pursuing a new career path altogether. Whatever it is, the important thing is that people have the freedom to make that choice for themselves. Now, I'd love to hear from you. Why do you think so many people are quitting their jobs? And is it a good thing or a bad thing? Comment your thoughts below. And if you enjoyed this video, please subscribe. Thanks for watching. See you next time.